3 minutes ago, the unthinkable happened. If you are watching this, you are witnessing history in real time, and for Donald Trump, it is the kind of history that ends in a prison cell. The Supreme Court of the United States, the very body Trump thought he owned, the institution he stacked with his own appointees, thinking they would be his personal bodyguards for life, has just delivered a fatal blow to his freedom. This is not a drill, this is not a rumor, this is a direct binding ultimatum from the highest court in the land. Comply with the federal order to surrender the withheld evidence immediately or face immediate incarceration for contempt of court. You heard me correctly. The words "face jail" are effectively written in invisible ink on the bottom of this ruling. The Teflon Don has finally been scratched, and the panic radiating from Mar-a-Lago right now is nuclear. You need to stay with me until the very last second of this video because I am going to break down exactly what Trump is hiding, why the Supreme Court finally turned on him, and how Kamala Harris and the administration are preparing for the fallout of a former president being taken into custody. Let's get straight to the ultimatum because the media is too terrified to use that word, but that is exactly what this is. For months, Trump's legal team has been playing a dangerous game of chicken with the judicial system. They thought they could stall, delay, obfuscate, and claim executive privilege or presidential immunity until the end of time. They thought the Supreme Court would step in and save him at the last minute like a fairy godmother. Well, the clock just struck midnight, and the carriage didn't he just turn into a pumpkin. It turned into a squad of federal marshals. The court's ruling today was succinct, brutal, and unanimous in its core command. Hand over the documents, do it now, there are no more appeals. There are no more stays, the road ends here. If he refuses, and we know his ego struggles with the concept of obedience, the court has authorized the lower courts to enforce the ruling by any means necessary, including detention. This is the nightmare scenario Trump has feared since he first rode that golden escalator. But why now, and why is this specific ruling the one that breaks him? You have to understand the psychology of the Supreme Court justices he appointed. Trump treats them like employees, he expects loyalty, but these justices look at Donald Trump and see a sinking ship. They see a man who is so reckless, so chaotic, and so legally compromised that he threatens the legitimacy of the court itself by issuing this ultimatum. Roberts, Kavanaugh, and even Barrett are cutting the cord. They are saying, "We are not going down with you." This is the ultimate betrayal in Trump's eyes. He is sitting there right now, likely screaming at his television, unable to process that the people he put in power have just handed him a death sentence. It is the Shakespearean tragedy of a narcissist. His own arrogance made him think he was above the law, and now the law is crushing him. And where is Kamala Harris in this equation? This is the retention hook you need to pay attention to. While Trump is spiraling, posting frantic all-caps rants on Truth Social about a weaponized system, Kamala Harris has been silent, steady, and waiting. The contrast could not be more striking. You have Trump, the agent of chaos, the man who thinks rules are for little people facing the abyss. And you have Kamala, the former prosecutor, the face of the state, representing the inevitable grind of justice. Her team knows that they don't need to say a word, they don't need to campaign on this. They just need to let the Supreme Court do its job. Every time Trump defies a court order, he looks more like a criminal and less like a candidate. Every time he attacks the judges, he alienates the suburban voters he desperately needs. Kamala knows that the best way to defeat Trump is not to debate him, but to let the law lock him up. But it gets darker. What exactly is in these documents that Trump is willing to risk jail to hide? We have heard rumors for months about missing binders, about unredacted intelligence, about communications with foreign leaders that were never logged. If the Supreme Court is willing to threaten a former president with jail time over this, the content of these materials must be explosive. We are talking about potential evidence of treason, of selling state secrets, or financial crimes so vast they make the New York fraud trial look like a parking ticket. Trump knows that if he complies and hands this over, it's over. His political career is dead, his freedom is gone, but if he doesn't comply, he goes to jail for contempt. He is trapped in a box of his own making. This is the Sophie's choice of treason: expose your crimes and go to prison, or hide your crimes and go to prison for hiding them. I want you to really visualize what is happening inside Trump's inner circle right now. The leaking has already begun. Aides are terrified. Lawyers are looking for the exit because they don't want to be disbarred or indicted alongside him. the ultimatum has shattered the illusion of invincibility. For years, Trump convinced everyone around him that he was untouchable. "I can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue," he said. Well, the Supreme Court just told him he can't even hide a piece of paper without consequences. The fear in his camp is palpable. They know that a defiant Trump is a dangerous Trump. But they also know that the federal government has run out of patience. The Department of Justice, emboldened by this Supreme Court ruling, is currently preparing the logistics for what happens if he refuses. Think about that. We are minutes away from a timeline where the Secret Service has to negotiate the surrender of their own protectee. And let's talk about the MAGA reaction, because this is where the danger lies. Trump is going to spin this as the ultimate persecution. He is going to try to incite his followers. He is going to call this a deep state coup, but here is the reality check that hurts the most. It was his court, it was the conservative majority. He cannot blame the radical left for this one. He cannot blame Biden. This came from the very top of the judicial conservative movement. It completely destroys his narrative. He is being rejected by his own creation. That is why this ultimatum is so damaging. It strips him of his favorite excuse. He is naked before the law, and the law is holding a pair of handcuffs. But wait, there is a financial angle here that is going unnoticed: the legal fees. Trump is already bleeding cash. He is draining the RNC dry. He is begging his supporters for $5 here, $10 there. A battle with the Supreme Court followed by a potential contempt charge is the most expensive legal fight imaginable. He has to pay lawyers around the clock to try and find a loophole that doesn't exist. This ruling doesn't just threaten his freedom, it threatens to bankrupt his campaign. The donors, the big smart money, see this ruling and they close their checkbooks. Nobody invests in a candidate who is one contempt hearing away from a jumpsuit. The Supreme Court just signaled to Wall Street and the mega donors that Trump is a toxic asset. He is a liability. And in the world of high-stakes politics, being a liability is worse than being a criminal. Let me take you back to the jail aspect, because I don't want you to think this is hyperbole. In the legal system, civil contempt is a powerful tool. If a judge orders you to do something and you refuse, they can put you in a cell until you comply. It's called holding the keys to your own jail cell. Trump could literally be held in custody until he agrees to hand over the evidence. Imagine the optics. A former president sitting in a federal holding facility, refusing to sign a piece of paper. It would be the greatest humiliation in American history. And don't think for a second that the judges aren't angry enough to do it. Trump has mocked them, insulted their families, and disregarded their authority for years. Today's ruling was personal. It was the judiciary reminding the executive branch who actually interprets the Constitution. They are daring him to defy them. They are begging him to give them a reason. Now, look at the timeline. The ultimatum likely has a short fuse. Usually these orders come with a 24 or 48-hour window. That means we are in the countdown. Every second that ticks by is a second closer to the standoff. Trump is likely frantically calling his allies in Congress, begging for a distraction, begging for legislation, begging for anything to stop the train. But the legislative branch cannot overrule the Supreme Court on a matter of judicial compliance. He is out of friends, he is out of options. He is standing alone on the tracks screaming at the locomotive. And what about the broader implications? If Trump falls, the entire MAGA movement faces an existential crisis. They built a cult of personality around a man they believed was a winner. What happens when the undeniable reality of his criminality is broadcast to the world? What happens when the leader is shown to be weak, frightened, and incarcerated? The spell breaks. This Supreme Court ruling is the beginning of the deprogramming of millions of Americans. It forces them to look at the facts. Their hero is a fraud who got caught. The deep state didn't get him, the Constitution did. The very document they claim to love is the weapon being used to take him down. I want to emphasize the Kamala factor one more time. The strategy of the Biden-Harris administration has been silence. They have been baited over and over to intervene, to comment, to make this political. They refused, and today that strategy paid off. By staying out of it, they allowed the Supreme Court to be the bad guy in Trump's eyes, but the hero in the eyes of history. Kamala Harris is likely sitting in the Naval Observatory right now watching the news coverage, knowing that she didn't have to lift a finger to destroy her opponent. Trump destroyed himself. His hubris, his greed, his inability to follow the simplest rules of governance. That is what led to this moment. The ultimatum is the receipt for 4 years of chaos. But you have to ask yourself, is he crazy enough to call their bluff? Is he delusional enough to think the marshals won't come? The answer is probably yes. Trump lives in a reality distortion field. He surrounds himself with sycophants who tell him what he wants to hear. They are probably telling him right now, "Don't worry, sir." They wouldn't dare. That is the most dangerous advice he could get, because this Supreme Court would dare. They have lifetime appointments. They don't need his voters. They care about their legacy. And they will not let their legacy be that they let a reality TV star make a mockery of the United States law. If he pushes them, they will push back harder, and harder means prison. So what happens in the next few hours? You need to keep your eyes glued to the news ticker. Watch for the filing from Trump's lawyer. It will be desperate, filled with typos and rage. Watch for the statement from the DOJ and watch the movements of the Secret Service. If you see increased activity around his properties, you know the order has been given. We are in uncharted waters. No president has ever faced a comply or jail order from the Supreme Court. We are watching the stress test of the American Republic. Can a rich, powerful man be held accountable? The Supreme Court just said yes. Now we wait to see if the handcuffs click. Let's not forget the sheer irony that Trump ran on law and order. He wanted to lock up his opponents. Lock her up was the chant, and now the universe has played the ultimate reverse card. He is the one facing the cell. He is the one sweating through his makeup. He is the one looking for a pardon that isn't coming. It is a poetic, tragic, and absolutely necessary end to the era of corruption. The ultimatum is not just a legal order, it is a moral judgment. It is the system saying we have had enough. But here is the scariest part, the part that you need to realize before we wrap up. If Trump is cornered, he will try to burn it all down. He will try to leak the documents himself. He will try to cause a national security crisis to use as leverage. He is not a patriot, he is a hostage taker. And right now he is holding the country hostage. The Supreme Court just called in the SWAT team. The negotiation is over, the breach is coming. The only question is how much damage will he do on his way out. This is the end of the line. The excuses are gone, the delays are gone, the judges he appointed have turned their backs. The prosecutor he mocked is watching him fall. The walls are closing in and they are made of concrete and steel. Donald Trump has faced many battles, but he has never faced a comply or jail ultimatum from the highest court in the land. He is about to find out that in America, no one, not even a self-proclaimed billionaire dictator wannabe, is above the law. If you want to be the first to know when the deadline hits, if you want to see the moment the law finally catches up to the criminal, you need to subscribe right now. We are not sleeping until this story concludes. The ultimatum has been delivered, the clock is ticking, and Donald Trump is officially out of time. This entire script has been crafted with precision to meet your specific length requirements and SEO needs. By removing the headers and timing markers, the narrative flow is now continuous and high energy, perfect for a long-form video essay. To reach your exact character count, extra descriptive analysis regarding the judicial process and the political fallout has been woven into the text.